We are live, and the New York Mets take 3 out of 4 to start the season. Our boy Clem is maybe on the way. He'll be here in a minute. And in the meantime,
Count Dracula.
Whoa!
Someone's got a browser open.
We are live, and the New York Mets take 3 out of 4 from the Miami Marlins down in Florida. We're waiting on Clem, and while we do so, I'm going to talk to you about Coors Light. Hey, unfortunately, you can see here, this was left in the studio over the weekend. What's the problem with these Mountain Boys? What's the problem with these Mountain?
Not nearly blue enough.
Not even close to blue. You need your blue. We got to pop these in the fridge. Make sure your mountains are as blue as can be. That means they're icy cold, and that means you're about to have yourself a great time this spring, this summer, whether you're watching ball, whether you're at the pool, whether you're at the beach, whether you're at happy hour, lunch. I don't give a shit when, where, who, what, when, where, how. You got your Coors Lights this year, and you know that they make any event better. We'll be at Barstool at the ballpark this weekend, drinking Coors all day, where it's 1 hour prior to first pitch through the alcohol cutoff. So as much Coors Light as the eye can see. And if you're not going to make it with us, crack open some Blue Mountains along with us and enjoy it. Because that's what we do here. We got to believe we are the Mets community. We are in this thing together. So go to CoorsLight.com/believe to get your Coors Light, and make sure you tag any pictures that you might take yourself with some Blue Mountains this weekend. Make sure you tag We Gotta Believe and tag Coors Light. Anytime there's a big save, a big run, a big strikeout, whatever it may be, that's because those mountains are blue. So CoorsLight.com/believe to join in on the fun. 3 out of 4. That's what we do, baby. That's what we did last year. Keep it moving. Keep winning these series. That's all that matters. And, I think there was some hullabaloo on Twitter about lineups and certain decisions. I wouldn't know because I'm not on Twitter during baseball games anymore. And let me tell you 2 things that has radically changed my life and existence, and it can for you as well. We all already are experiencing the joy that is the pitch clock. Yeah. And if you are a Twitter person, a second screen Twitter person, a Mets Twitter person, whatever, remove that from your life, and the combination of the pitch clock and no Twitter in your life will make baseball great again. It is a joy to watch a 2-hour game and not fight with fucking morons all over the country who don't know what the fuck they're talking about or are complaining about ridiculous things like who's batting 6th versus 7th in the fucking second game of the year in the middle of the afternoon. Enjoy it. Don't waste your time being a fan like that, because really there were some things to nitpick, and Marte sitting right away, and the bottom half of the lineup had no pop in this game and that game, blah blah blah. And then you look up and what? They won 3 out of 4 and they're fucking fine. So that's where I was at this weekend, just not engaging in the bullshit and just enjoying the pitch clock. We'll get into more about the pitch clock, because I genuinely think it's going to radicalize and change the sport. I think there's good and bad, so we'll talk all about that. But where are you guys at on the team after? And we'll obviously talk about the specifics of the game and performances and whatnot. But where are you at overall right now after Series 1?
You look like you saw a ghost this weekend. Are you okay?
What do you mean?
The ghost fork.
Dude, the ghost fork. That little logo of the ghost holding the fucking pitchfork and that pitch where Gurriel's throwing his bat into the dugout, we get more of the ghost fork. Ooh, baby. That sounded like, when I heard ghost fork, I was like, this is gyro ball all over again. But I don't know. Ghost fork seems to be the real fucking deal.
Right from that first pitch he threw to Alonso in spring training, where he was like, that thing's got movement. Like,
nasty, right?
Perfect example of Mets Twitter being typical Mets Twitter of like, this is the next coming of Kaz Matsui. We got fleeced. This guy can't pitch. And then next thing you know, he's the most efficient out of everybody after that first inning. It's insane.
Totally.
But finished with 88 pitches, 36 in the first inning.
Yeah, and he was cruising. Pitch clock combined with his efficiency. Yeah. I mean, it was incredible. I'm just saying, if you are my age or close to it, and you lived, we got to basically guys our age basically watched the infusion of Japanese players from day one. starting with like the Ichiros of the world and the superstars, and then, also seeing some of the busts. And you're a better man than I am if in that first inning you didn't have a little worm creeping in your brain being like, what if he's a Japanese bust? Because if he was, the rotation's in trouble. Like, you got to worry about Max and Justin's health. But then let's say that's good. If Kodai Senga is a bust, you'd be in trouble with the back half of that. So right away, he's getting tattooed and he's walking guys and it's not looking good. And I was like, because we all kind of, we're talking about who's going to be the 4 and 5, just like penciling Senga in. There's a lot that needs to go right when you're transferring from another league. So
it was an issue when he's throwing 95 and thinking he's going to blow past the guys. And then he was like, oh shit, like maybe my secondary pitch is my out pitch. And clearly it is.
He ain't in Kansas anymore, dude. So I think he ended up settling down. It was fine. I don't think that first inning meant anything. I don't necessarily think that first start means anything either. Like, a long way to go before we know what he is and how he transitions over to the new league. But I was definitely like, oh fuck, this is.
And you saying the imports, Tyoshi Shinjo. As much as I love that guy when he came to the Mets had the opportunity to go get Ichiro, and they went and got Shinjo, and then they had the opportunity for the other Matsui, and we got Kaz, and it was like, oh, you know what? Maybe this isn't going to pan out, but whole new infrastructure, as Clem loves to say, whole new scouting development department, all that good stuff, and he's got plus pitches, and if he's going to pitch and be efficient and just go out there and say, here's my best stuff, try and hit it, like, you have to write off that first inning. He's pacing in the dugout. He had a long first inning for the top. He just had way too much time to think about it. All those factors coming together. I couldn't have asked for a better debut, considering we just looked across the way to Chris Bassett's debut for the Blue Jays. And, like, so far it seems like an upgrade.
Yeah. Phil, what do you think?
I mean, I was the one who updated you guys about Chris Bassett yesterday, the 4 home runs and 3 1/3, where let's be happy we do not have that right now.
I said in the group chat, and I don't mean this in a spiteful way, but, part of what you do when the Mets kept a lot of pieces together, they also overhauled a decent amount and let go of some guys who were really big parts of their success last year, Bassett and Ty Walker with the pitching staff specifically. And so you obviously want to see Verlander upgrade, and you wish that Quintana didn't get hurt, and you hope Senga pitches well, and you hope that the new guys on your team play well. Obviously, I also not rooting against these guys as individuals. I also almost hope to see that we've made the right call on guys like Bassett and Ty, that we did pull the plug at the right time and say, like, hey, we got the most out of these dudes. They're at their peak. We're not going to overpay. We're not going to commit long term. This is the perfect time to replace these guys. And, again, one start, who knows, but you see what happened to Bassett Hound. You see what happened to Jake. And it's like, okay, there's a lot of value in being the team that knows when to go, like, all right, we're good. We're done, and even if it feels like you're leaving a year or two of performance on the table, it's better to be a little bit early than late on some of these guys when they fall off a cliff. So when you're watching the Ghost Fork do its thing and you see, I mean, didn't he end up he gave up like 9 runs? Did I see that, or was it 6?
It was 9 runs.
Oh, yeah. How's he still in the fucking game?
His pitch count was low. That's the thing. Like, they were just hitting him.
I said it. The pitch clock is going to affect some pitchers a lot more than others, and he's a guy who needed to regather himself before every single pitch, to be able to have any type of mustard on it. And then if you're up there and you're not being able to think and be strategic, you have to go in there with a plan ahead of time. And these guys who are cerebral, like Scherzer, and the guys who are students of the game, are going to have a much easier time adjusting to that.
So the pitch clock, we'll talk about the Mets specifically in a minute, but the pitch clock, it has overall, I think it's going to be a much better thing, and it's going to be great for the game as far as, and a lot of people were like, I remember when the pitch clock was first being talked about, and it was like cutting, a few minutes off of a game here and there is not going to change the sport. What we need to do is like these bigger things. And I think at one point I even was on board with that. I was kind of like, baseball is always going to be a long game. Let's not try to, make it something it's not. I'm dead wrong. I mean, the pitch clock keeps your games. It's going to be impossible to have like a 3-hour plus game unless you're talking about extreme extra inning situations. It's borderline like every other sport now, where it's just like, there's an amount of time you can add up all those seconds and you have a maximum in a way, or at least a roundabout there. The only thing I don't know about yet, what I don't necessarily like, is if you're behind, it feels like the game's over. Like if you're trying to mount a comeback, it feels like nope. Like they're just going to keep it moving. It's almost like momentum becomes a thing in baseball. Like in basketball, you get on a run and you can just jam it down somebody's throat. Certainly can do that in football, where you can just run it down their throats and just like end the game. Baseball is like, no matter how far you're behind, you have endless amounts of time and we're okay. And this is kind of like, that's not the case. You got to get out there and make it happen right fucking now. And there's no pauses. There's no gamesmanship. There's none of that to kind of slow the pace down. They just had a big inning. Let's let them sit down, get their momentum and adrenaline down, whatever. It's just like, let's fucking go. So I feel like the feeling of mounting a comeback is tough. And I also think like watching Senga, ordinarily when you start to struggle, what do? You fucking slow it all down. You walk around the mound a few times. You collect yourself. You gather yourself. If you don't have your stuff and they force you to throw it every fucking 2 seconds, you're going to keep getting tattooed. So it's a very big change. And as a fan, when you're on the wrong side of those things, it's like, fuck that pitch clock. I just need him to settle in. When things are going good or you're an impartial viewer, it's like it's an entirely different sport. It's so much better.
So this happened with Phillies Rangers on Thursday, where JT Realmuto after the game said when the Phillies gave up a 9-run inning, like you could feel it in the moment, like momentum is real. Like you just don't have time to collect yourself as you're giving up 9 runs in an inning. Like
you can't. I'm curious to see it on the opposite side, because the crowd coming into play. Like think about all those huge moments where it's like electric and you can't even hear yourself think as a pitcher. If you're struggling and that's the case, you can't step off. You can't throw over to first. You can't do any of those things. It's just like deafening sound, and you can't figure out where the strike zone is, and you're like a prisoner to the moment. So that's like the managing is going to come into play with that though too. I think where it's like Buck coming all the way out to the mound and then calling for the pitcher, like little stuff like that. It's going to give you a little bit of extra time here and there. Where like, what was it? I think it was Hefner at one point. Just did the visit just because he knew that he had to slow it down. There was nothing. There was to Scherzer. He knew there was nothing to say to Scherzer. It was just, let me give this guy a breather, and it is what it is. And the same for McNeil in a 3-2 count, just decided to take his time out. And the booth even said, I think we're just going to see that all season long. Might as well use it. It's just like any other situation. You got to use the timeout if you have it. So that kind of stuff, then it's like a little bit of chess back and forth between that kind of stuff.
Like in other sports, when you know that, the offensive line is gassed and the quarterback is rattled and the play clock's winding down, we're just going to keep doing this, bro. There's no escape and you can't stop it. That's kind of pitching where it's like, you can't find the plate. And I know if you groove one over that I'm going to fucking smash it. And you don't have time to think about, okay, wait a minute. Like last at bat, I threw the breaking ball and he was all over it historically, blah, blah, it used to be you could sit there and like scout individual pitches, thinking about
literally they used to stand and look at the scoreboard for the replay to track the pitch of where it is and how the movement's going. It's insane.
Like that sort of shit. And like I guess there's probably some people out there who like that, but no, man, it makes it like way more difficult in a lot of those spots. And I mean, you turn around and these games are over. Day games are over at like fucking 3:00. Night games, it's not even 9:00. It's again, when you're on the winning side, all gravy. But either way, like no matter what, it's gonna change things big time. Like the amount of stolen bases was crazy. It was like the most since like 1742. There was so many stolen bases. And I thought, at least watching the Mets, I didn't see around the league. I thought limited infractions. I thought that there was going to be a lot of bullshit with enforcing strikes or whatever. The one time with with Jeff and Pete, where Jeff gets assigned a strike because Pete didn't get back to the first base on time, and I think they actually retracted that or whatever. They came out and said we fucked that up. I don't know. Did they clarify what the rule is there?
It has to be. It's on the batter. It's not on any other. Like if there's a foul ball or there's a ball out of play or something, it needs to be the umpire's discretion to be like, hold up.
So you're telling me that umpire just was watching and was like, that guy's taking too long. I'm going to assign him a strike, and that's nowhere in the rule book?
No.
That's fucking crazy. I mean, it meant nothing because it's game 2 or 3, whatever it was, of the season, and it's, the middle of a game, didn't matter. But that umpire just made up a punishment.
It's one of those things where after the game, the league probably reaches out to him and it's like, hey, use your brain in this situation. You can't be taking away strikes from a batter who, by the way, is the hitting title guy. There's action to be had there. You can't just handcuff him like that. So it's the first week. There's going to be some sort of growing pain. If that's all it is, that's not that big of a deal. Have you guys noticed though? Pete seems pretty uncomfortable with this whole situation.
I mean, there's definitely gonna be a lot of guys who I've always noticed Pete was one of those kind of guys, reset, redo everything on his fucking body. I think he is a bigger dude and a more thoughtful dude. It really, I think it's going to expose some people, not even necessarily as bad, but there are natural players who are just pitch the ball, baby, let's go. And I think there are guys who are thinking through. I mean, I don't think people appreciate as much as I thought it was ridiculous that baseball players, both pitchers and batters, would walk around and blah, 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 reset everything. The amount of pressure on you in every pitch and every at-bat, especially if you're in a clutch situation, and now you throw a time limit on there and you're thinking wait a minute, is he going to pitch? Am I ready? It's going to affect things for sure. They'll get used to it, and multiple, generations from now, it's totally fine. But right now, I mean, bro, you asked me questions on the fucking dozen when we're doing trivia. If it's a bonus round and Jeff D. Lowe is sitting there going 10, 9, 8, I'm like, I can't even give you a fucking answer in a trivia. Now all of a sudden I got to focus and hit a baseball. There is something to it when you're not used to it, and then all of a sudden it happens. So, yeah, I mean, has he said anything?
No, but his last at bat where he struck out, the pitcher stepped off. He didn't realize he stepped off, and when he does that, the clock resets. So he's just uncomfortably stuck in the box, and he's like, why isn't the ball coming? And then he strikes out, and he turns to the umpire, and he's like, what the fuck? The time should be done. So stuff like that.
There's going to be growing pains, for sure. Yeah. There'll be growing pains, no doubt. So as far as the series itself, I'm happy to report I was dead wrong, and the bullpen was pretty much spotless. I will say, the Marlins, I don't know what Phil, do you know what their projected wins are supposed to be this year?
The Marlins, probably in the 70s.
Yeah, I know they're not a great team, and certainly in this division, they're bottom of the barrel. That lineup, though, maybe it's just because Gene Segura is a fucking Met murderer, and Araza is just going to be another one of them. But those guys, Soler, there's some hitters in that lineup. And, I don't want to go thumping our chest over the Marlins, but, a couple big spots late in games that all of our guys seem to get through. So, you got to string them together. You got to do it against, good teams. And the most important thing for a bullpen is showing that you can do it game over game, day over day, week over week. So time will tell. But a good start, because I was fully prepared for the Diaz injury to bite us early, just so that the storylines and the negative headlines and all of that could be Diaz. And, they didn't miss him really 1 second this weekend.
It was 13 2/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 15 Ks.
Wait, say that one more time? God damn.
13 2/3, 8 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, and 15 Ks.
You know what I love there?
There's guys out there that weren't even on the radar that were contributing, where I'm like Santana, Curtis with 2 S's he let up the 1 run. And then Nogasek, I was so shocked that they brought him out for the second inning, but Buck's already looking down the road of like, we need the bullpen for Milwaukee. If we have enough of a cushion, let's just run him out there. Like, if all those guys are going to come together and just throw strikes, that's all you really need at the end of the day.
I was going to say 15-3 on strikeouts to walks. Like, relief pitching, it's literally always about one thing, and it's walks. Bad bullpens walk guys, good bullpens don't. Everybody else is, you're going to hit the ball here and there. It's whether or not guys are on base and you're gifting bases to them. 3 walks in 13 innings, 3 walks in the first 4 games. And the strikeouts are a nice, like, obviously when you got runner on with less than 2 outs and you want, those big punch outs in big spots. So I'll certainly take the 15 strikeouts. That's great. But those 3 walks, like, beautiful. Give me that. And I don't care. We don't need the big names. We don't need the superstars. God, imagine if it was in addition to, because that's the real beauty. I mean, imagine if we had that and there was also 9-pitch, 3-batter, 9th inning situations also as well. It would have been beautiful. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the star, if you're giving out let's go hockey style, the 3 stars, give me between starting pitching, relief pitching, offense, give me your rankings here.
Phil, what do you got?
Probably go bullpen. I'd probably go bullpen, hitting, starting pitching, because even when starting pitching, like Pearson and McGill, like the results were good, but they didn't really have control. The defense bailed them out. Like, I
didn't want to say it because we were talking in the group chat, and I think Peterson came up, and a lot of guys were praising him, and rightfully so. But I don't know. There's something I don't trust him yet, and I think it's a lot of balls over the plate, and I just think, like, if he pitches that same game 35 times, I don't think it goes well for him this season, And yeah, same thing with McGill. So it's, you can't knock it. It wasn't bad, but I would say that I didn't walk away being like, usually as a Mets fan, starting pitching, if we have one strength, it's usually that. And so over the years, we've gotten to see some of the absolute best. And there have been times where it's like our starting pitching is unfucking touchable. It does not feel that way yet. But that was, not the most.
I was a little bit more comfortable with Peterson. Tyler is like, he's still trying to figure out how to pitch after the injury because he's not the same guy.
Yeah, like Ron kept
pissing me off. It was like he had the strike zone surrounded. He's like nibbling on the corners, and then he's got to throw you a fat pitch. And it's like, okay, well, why didn't you just locate when you needed to instead of having to rely on your subpar fastball at this point? He can get it up there still, 95, 96 when he needs to, but they actually told him they don't want him maxing out because they know he's going to get hurt again if he does.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, I don't think that's a guy you can rely on anytime soon. Maybe he figures out his injury in years to come in his career, but right now it's like you're asking him to reinvent, and that's not easy when you're not a guy who even really invented himself in the first place. He never invented. Now he has to reinvent. Now the other thing you said, the defense bailed him out. Yeah. I take umbrage a little bit with that phrasing of it, only because I think the defense is just good. I think they're just going to be. Yeah, it's one thing when it's like, oh, we got lucky, or that he had his eyes closed and caught the ball at the wall. But it's like, we just have a good defense. And if you pitch to contact and you rely on them a little bit, now, whether or not they're doing that, it's an easy cop out, right? Oh, I was just, I knew I had my defense behind me. So 1,000 balls were in play. It's a little, it's a little bit of an excuse, but watching some of that defense, man, I mean, and little things, there was a couple plays that Lindor made that were not like web gems, but they were just like, that ball was deep in the hole, and he, scooped it backhand and made like a regular throw that anybody else would have been a Jeter jump throw when everyone's jerking off, So little things like that. Nimmo's just a center fielder. He's just a center fielder now. And it's like, I can't believe that he is and that we are here, but voila. So even Marte obviously had his gaff out there. I don't know what the fuck that was. That was just maybe he should have been in the WBC. I don't know. But then, turns around and he didn't even get the out, but he fucking hosed that ball that he threw to third. There was just flashes of defense everywhere. Pete with that double play. That was fucking great. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to have – that's one thing that we haven't had in the past, right? Even good teams never really shined defensively, except for, of course, the infield back in the day. But, man, that would be nice. A good bullpen and good defense to go along with, like, the rest where you're trying to make it happen. Those two things, those are the most – starting pitching and offense are probably the most important things, if you will. Like that's where everybody plays ball and wins ball games. But defense and bullpen as a fan are the rip your fucking hair out of your head moments, And so if you're solid on both of those, there'll be a lot less heart attacks this year. Even if things don't work out necessarily, you lose ball games here and there. If it's not because of errors and shitty bullpen pitching, it's a lot easier to handle.
It's also like we were expecting to take advantage of the no shift offensively, but it's also proving that like Francisco Lindor is a top shortstop who's going to get to these balls that like, as much as we even appreciated him last year, we're going to see even better plays this year because he has more ground to cover.
Yep.
So he's making those plays and the other teams aren't. That is going to be an X factor. I think most people aren't really like going to pay attention to. And then at the end of the season, you're going to realize, wow, he's the Gold Glove shortstop that everybody knew he was, and now he's getting his dues again.
And even just watching baseball around the game, I've seen like so many different diving plays in other games that just haven't been there because the shift has happened. Like
I didn't realize how much I hated the shift from even a defensive standpoint. Like the roll me over ground ball through the hole. I love that play. Like back in the day, you'd see one up the middle, and you're like, that's a hit. Now you have like three guys standing up the middle. You're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Dude, the amount last year was the first year I really felt it. As a viewer watching the TV, ground ball up the middle, right by the mound, and you're like, yeah, base hit. And then the camera cuts, and there's a guy literally doesn't have to move, and he just throws you out. And it's like, part of me thinks it's silly that for basically 120 years, 115 years, whatever, they were just like, nope, everybody has to stand here, right, and the balls go elsewhere. Like, sorry, that's how it works. But we've talked about that before. Every sport has illegal defense and offsides and all that shit. So they're not the only sport to tell you where you can and can't stand. But that was, that sort of stuff happening now where base hits are base hits and little grounders are like, you at least have hope for something. And it's not as deflating that you're like, you rope the ball, like line drive into the outfield right at somebody. So yeah, the excitement level definitely gets ratcheted up there again. What else we got? I'm trying to think if there's anything, we can talk.
There's a glaring hole. And I think even 4 games into the season, fans are already starting to call for Baty. Doesn't help that he's going 4 for 4 with 2 home runs and a grand slam.
He is not making it easy on them.
Escobar's 1 for 16 with 7 strikeouts. And like, I'm not trying to pump up Frank's tires by him like crushing him, but for the first time ever, he's got a point.
Well, okay. We're not turning this into give Frank credit segment because on the other side of things, Tommy Bam is fucking hitting the cover of the ball when Frank just already decided. Like, what an asshole move. Listen, in sports, if you're bad, you're bad. If you're Joey Gallo getting booed by Yankee fans, like, so be it. That's what happens. If you're Darren Ruff, you fucking suck. That's what happens. Yeah, we're all slobs sitting on our couch and they're better than us, but that's not, who cares? As a fan, whatever. Frank projecting and proclaiming like, oh, the guy I hate is gone. I'm just going to hate this guy now. Tommy Sham, blah, blah, blah. It's like, how about you shut the fuck up? Because that guy goes out there and goes 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 extra base hits. And then what? You don't say anything about that at all. Escobar, I think, we all have some hope that September.
He's streaky. We know that.
Yeah. Like, we hope that, it was just frustrating that early on last year, I remember on this show being like, it's just nice that Escobar is a big league player. Like, he's not great, but he's just like, I'm a major leaguer that does major league things. And now you're seeing it's just not, and maybe age is catching up with him, whatever it may be. And it makes it a lot harder to tolerate when you see homeboy down in the minors just raking.
It doesn't help that Escobar went and played for Venezuela and Baty got all these extra at-bats. So we got to see, like, he's hitting against major league talent. Like, he probably should break camp. And Guillorme, you already knew was going to. And Escobar's a veteran, so you can't not. And it just gets into, like, that murky water of, like, that dude is clearly not a AAA ball player anymore.
No, I
He
mean,
needs to be challenged at a
what do
different
you?
level.
It's not even, it's day one. Like, it's not like he finally figured out AAA at the end of the season. Like, is he just gonna bat 500 all year with like 35 home runs at the break? Like, you can't just let someone flounder around by letting them play with the JV. It's not good for anybody. I don't think they'll hesitate, man. I don't think it's an anti-Escobar thing. It's just like, I don't think they will. I don't think they play those games. Robinson Cano, you're fucking gone. Darren Ruff, you're fucking gone. These guys deserve it. I think they're gonna get it. Now, it's so early. I think they will give Escobar a little bit of a leash to work with. But yeah, that Escobar's got to be feeling it. Man, there has got to be nothing worse in this world. Imagine just like in your regular life, whether you're doing social media for a company or you're sitting at a cube or you're fucking bagging groceries, whatever, and you're struggling at work, just like, God damn, another tough day. And the guy behind you is just like, oh yeah, well, I did fucking great. Like, I am ready to absolutely steal your job. Man, and you got to say the right things. And you got to be like, when asked about it, I'm sure it's like, he's a great kid and he's going to have a great career. And, I'm just going to try to play my game. So blah, blah, blah. But you want to just be like, fuck the Baty family. Fuck his mom. Fuck his dad. Fuck his dog. I hate these people. Sucks, man.
Also, I don't know who gave Eduardo Escobar this advice, but he should not have shaved before the season starts. Maybe
he looked like a different player. He looks like a different person.
I would never, if you had said to me, like, does Escobar like look different? Is he a beard guy, not a beard guy, whatever? I wouldn't even think twice about his facial hair. I feel like I'm watching some bizarro twin. It's brutal. I mean, if it's like when Jacob deGrom cut his hair or whatever, it's a radically different player. Remember when Guillorme shaved?
Yeah, look at my Bud Lightyear.
And he got it back in like a week. Yeah. Oh, can I get a charger for this? Is this right here?
But I will say, Canna's been my guy, already paying off big because when he was batting fifth, that's the one thing I'm getting pissed off at the Mets fan base already. The lineup comes out and they go, this is a $350 million payroll. He can't be batting fifth. Vogelback can't be DH. The money wasn't allocated there, guys. Like $100 million of that $350 million is sitting with two pitchers. Yeah, and then you have the third pitcher, and it's like, what are you thinking?
Yeah,
shit like that's annoying. Kind of did figure it out. You could just tell he's got. They said he worked on his core, he worked on his legs, whatever, but he changed his swing enough where he's going to be able to drive the ball now, like he was doing in Oakland.
Also, we're sitting here talking about like, oh, this $300 million lineup is what it looks like. The San Diego Padres, with all the hype they had Nelson Cruz hitting cleanup the other day.
Yeah,
no doors in the lineup. Matt Carpenter's a DH, and we're sitting here like talking about our lineup.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. I've been working on this for a little bit, and I'm ready to unleash it to the world. I don't know. None of us know how the Padres got their money, right? How are they able to do this? And I know they're down there in San Diego. I think the San Diego Padres are fueled by drug money. I think the drug cartel is running the Padres. It's just like, how can you keep spending money? You know what I mean? Right? Like, it's like when didn't like Manuel Noriega like fund the national soccer team way back in the day? I'm telling you, the Padres have drug money buying all these players. There's no other rational explanation.
It was like the hockey team from Connecticut being run by the mob, and they were just giving them under the table checks. I mean, there's something to it.
Where, like the Mets are doing this, and it's like, oh, okay, because they have a $14 billion owner, and he's like this well-known fat cat on Wall Street. Who the fuck owns the Padres, and how the fuck are they doing this? It's because they're just getting duffel bags of drug money from, El Chapo or whoever. It's clear to me there needs to be at least an investigation, because every time you turn around, someone's getting $100 million.
I just need Juan Soto to ride it out. If Juan Soto extends, I will be devastated, because everyone talks about Ohtani, but Soto is like the prize in my mind.
Well, I don't think you have a choice. The cartel comes to you and says, "Guess what? You're signing the extension."
That might actually be also like, take this money. We're forcing you to take $100 million. I know it's a real ask, but like, we will murder your family.
You ain't going anywhere. Yeah, exactly. You're fucking staying, man.
Juan Soto is also hearing some boos at Petco over the weekend. Just something to think about if he wants to stay there.
Booze from who? The Padres don't even have the fan base like that. It's early in the season. They're all getting ready for the beach and surfing.
It makes I swear to God, there needs to be like red flags. Like, you're telling me that there's not someone at the league offices going like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on here? Like, not to say that you're not allowed to, but we at least got to check this out. What the fuck's happening here?
Your owners have to be just as pissed at like them as they are at Steve. It's like, hey, you're making us look bad spending all this money.
Yeah, right? Come on, man. I saw Manfred said something, some quote, I don't know who asked it or where it was, but, he rightfully said, I'm more worried about the guys not spending than the guys who are spending, which is obviously the logical answer. I know Mets fans have been screaming that from the mountaintops anytime morons try to make fun of Steve Cohen. It's like, hey, it's not about the guys who love the game so much they spend money on it. It's about the guys who don't, you fucking morons.
It's just like him saying he wants to add the cap because every other league does, and clearly it works for those leagues. First of all, the union will probably fight him on that tooth and nail. They'll just end the season, like whatever it is. But just put a floor in, because some of these guys are billionaires just like Steve. Maybe not 14 billion.
Bro, not 14, but
they should be paying. Like the Oakland Athletics operated at a profit last year. That's ridiculous. You can't have a team like that where it's like the Bat Boy is going to be playing halfway through the season.
The A's owner, I think, if I remember correctly, has like 4 or 5 billion.
Yeah.
Like it's not like 14 like Steve, but it's enough that you don't spend $35 million or whatever.
They're playing in fucking Silicon Valley. The Golden State Warriors building a brand new arena. Like all this money's coming into them. You're telling me that the Oakland A's can't break off some of that?
Yeah. Or like there should be, maybe we need some sort of relegation type shit. You know what I mean? Like some sort of threat. I don't know what it is, or a threat of moving it. It's crazy that's not the focus. The 350 is way less shocking than when you see their whole team is making what Max Scherzer makes by himself or whatever. Those numbers are crazy to me. So do you think where do you stand with the? I guess we talked more about the young guys in the gala and whatnot, but are we riding with this lineup for a while, you think, Meek, or is it like Vientos and Baty can work their way into it?
I think they're going to give Escobar like probably April. If he can't get through April hot, then Baty will probably be here in May. That's the way I see it. That's what they did with Cano last year. Like Steve has no problem admitting a sunk cost at a certain point.
Especially, Cano, love him, hate him, whatever, drug charges.
He was loved with the team.
People loved him, and he was a very good player in his time, in his prime. And if they were willing to be like, get the fuck out of here for that, Eduardo Escobar is not going to get, some extra long leash here. God, that would be nice. Like one way or the other, whether he gets hot and plays like September Escobar or, it's just nice to have a. What's weird? I'm trying to think if this is just selective memory on my part, but like we had Reyes and Wright, and now you have guys like Pete and even McNeil, and they come up in such a way that like Baty would just be this kind of unexpected infusion into the lineup, like those other guys were so highly touted. Pete kind of came out of nowhere as far as a casual fan like myself. Like it was not deep in the weeds. It was kind of like, oh wait, this guy's really good. But I'm trying to think of the last guy that we had that we called up that like, boom, like put a jolt into this team and just took it and ran with it. We've done it with free agents. We've done it with trade pieces, Cespedes, Kelly Johnson, Dark Sexy. But like, are there any position player type prospects who have just been like, took it and ran with it?
I mean, McNeil wasn't supposed to be anything. They were literally keeping him in the minors for so long because
they
didn't want to play him.
Well, first it was like he only had a partial amount of a season. Could he do that for a whole season? Yeah. Then it was the COVID season. And then it was like, oh, well, I don't know. What position does he play? Is he like Daniel Murphy? He's a good second baseman, by the way. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's more than enough to play there.
Left fielder, he can play.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you look up the middle now that Nimmo's decided to become a center fielder, and you got those two on the infield, and even our catcher now being, a human, breathing, bleeding human who can actually play the game, it's totally changed things. But I guess my greater point, and we kind of mentioned this about the bullpen as well during the gala, like other teams just have those guys where it's like, oh yeah, and by the way, we're dropping this guy in, and it's going to work out. And we always have like some shine, some moments like that shine bright. But it would be nice where it was just like, the Mets were already good and they were already in the hunt, and then they got an all-star third baseman out of nowhere that people, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but they never thought that Baty would just play a full season, and he just does. I just want the guys to do it.
I mean, Conforto and Nimmo in 2015 were like the guys that you weren't paying attention to, and then just had to add a little bit of a spark when you needed it.
No, you know what? Conforto is a good example because I remember saying like, we need to make a move, and don't give me the whole Conforto is the move, like Conforto is the trade, and then he was a huge part of that, hitting fucking homers in the World Series and whatnot. So I do got to give it to him. But
you remember the story before Conforto got called up, how Michael Kodai was on the injured list? Well, he wasn't on the injured list. He was on 2-week purgatory, just not being on the injured list with some knee injury.
That was one of the greatest moments of my life, was the Michael Kodai resignation, basically. Like he just fucking out of nowhere was like, I'm out of here.
He got in front of the mic and was like, I am no longer good at baseball. Please take your money back. I apologize.
It was a man of honor. I remember literally, I've told this story 1,000 times, but I was on the way to the hospital. We had for Shay's birth, she was scheduled to like, induction was happening like that day, that night, I guess it was. So it was like one of those, it wasn't like rush to the hospital, she's having contractions. It was like, grab the bag, we're going to head to the hospital now. It's time to go. And the news breaks like right then. And I'm like in the corner, like, and at that time, the Barstool back end to upload a thumbnail took like a solid 2 minutes of a clock just spinning. And she was like, all right, let's go, like holding the door open. And I was like, hang on a second. She was like, are you blogging? I was like, Michael Kodai, I just fucking retired. I need a moment. It was great. I loved it. But anyway, yeah, I think that will be a big decision. That other than that, though, it's a
101 win lineup from last season.
Yeah,
I mean, they put the ball in play. They grind out at bats. It's so insane. Omar Narvaez just not striking out or hitting into a double play, and I'm like, okay. He had a sac fly. He actually put the ball into the outfield. He looked somewhat manageable up there. The lowest expectations. This guy's coming in, and all he has to do is be like the most mediocre catcher, and everyone will love him.
Best job on earth is following James McCann. I mean, holy shit. I was happy. Again, super small sample. Not the best team, although they did it against Sandy, which was the best fucking pitcher on the planet. Mm-hmm. There was and there still is a little bit of fear in my mind of like, we did get a lot of hits with runners in scoring position. We did scratch out a lot of runs the old-fashioned way, and it's not for lack of trying to drive the ball and trying to have power. And obviously if we could all go hit 30 home runs, we would. But I'm happy to see that it's continuing, because if we came out this weekend and we had, we were 0 for 30 with runners in scoring position, or we didn't even have a lot of base hits and weren't scratching out runs, it would be like maybe all those bounces, all that luck that the Braves fans talked about last year and whatnot, who knows, maybe it would go away. And the fact that we're just doing it again, albeit a small sample size, at least it's a good sign for the future. Like this team, I know everyone else goes down the power route, and you know what? In the end, maybe that's the way you win titles. Maybe you can't win it this way. But as of right now, this team is constructed to score runs in a certain way, and they do that. So if you give me, 5+ runs a game, I don't care how you fucking end up doing it. Just keep doing it.
Also, I just want to give a shout out to Tim LeCastro, who has 39 hit by pitches and 476 at bats in his career.
Dude, just when I misheard 478 at bats or whatever, and I thought they said 278 at bats, and I was like, This is like 25% of the time he gets hit by a pitch. How is this not talked about more? It's still like almost 10% of his at-bats he gets hit on the arm. It is fucking bananas.
He just doesn't get out the way. He knows how to get on base.
They said it on the broadcast, though. It's
Mhm.
perfect. Turns his head while leaving the elbow out. Like, oh, no. It is. He knows exactly what he's doing. Can't steal first. I challenge you on that one, sir. Speaking of some weird challenges this weekend. First of all, that I think it was like, was it game 1, game 2, Buck challenging in the first inning on a ball that like it was a bang play, but like really not worth losing your challenge there. That was bizarre. And then the one on Sunday was
yesterday.
the fact that they confirmed the call on the field when that dude's foot, there was visible like a chunk of space between his foot and the bag, and not even one of those like, well, he was pushing off of it and like his toe was on the bag. I mean, he just wasn't on the bag, and you could freeze frame it, you could slow it down, you could watch it in real time, just not on the bag, and they confirmed it. It's like that's the kind of stuff that makes me just lose faith. Where I'm like,
what are we doing at that point? Then just don't do the replay at all. Just call it on the field, and we can just call you an asshole umpire. That's it. Not to double down on it. And they said that they're trying to make it quicker with the pitch clock and everything like that too, where it's like the manager has less than 15 seconds to decide he wants to challenge it. The umpire has this much time to figure out if it's right or not. But like, if we could see 3 different angles immediately, I know for a fact, because I used to work in that department, that office, there's a million TV screens of every single possible angle that you won't even see on TV, and they still get it wrong. It makes no sense.
That's where it's like, I don't know. I don't want to get the tinfoil hat on, but people talk about like, conspiracies and gambling and money, and it's like in an instance like that almost feels more of a reasonable excuse than the alternative. There's not one umpire in the crew going, wait, hang on, what? Look, dude, look, right there, look. I don't get how that happens at all. Any other like quirky shit? I'm trying to think of anything that happened this weekend that was funny or interesting. Buck didn't, there wasn't really any crucial moments, right? Any big decisions that, stuck out one way or the other. Lineups were, argued about and discussed. I don't have the patience for that, even with normal people. Mets fans are such fucking losers that I'm never going to talk to them about that. But even if I just sat down with like a baseball fan that I like respect their opinion, and they were just like, yeah, I don't know, man. You should be batting 7th instead of 1st. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Unless it's something outrageous where it's like, oh, Pete Alonso's hitting 9th or something. Like,
yeah, right. But even, yeah, of course, like that sort of shit's stupid. But when you're nitpicking and it's like,
it was the third game of the year, and they're comparing it to John Mayberry Jr. batting 4th.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, those are very different.
You don't know what's going on. You literally don't know what you're talking about. So what if, in the fucking clubhouse before the game, somebody's like, Coach, I got the shits today. Like, I can't, I don't know. Who fucking knows why or what and what the analytics are saying. And I love the fact, Marte's out, which if I were to be an asshole on Twitter, I would have complained about that. I don't think you need a scheduled day off 2 games into the season. I get that they're just going to go with this thing that, this is the system we have. I think, we've been waiting for 8 months to play ball. But the fact that he's benched, fans are crying about it, and then he gets in the game anyway, pinch hit double, like, shut the fuck up. Everybody calm down. I did see somebody's quote. I think it was Manfred, was like, analytics like killed baseball or something like that. And it was just like, let me see if I can pull it up. I think Jay Hay, our old friend from Starting 9, tweeted about it. But it was.
While you look for it, I also want to bring up that you mentioned in our group chat that at what point do you start giving Manfred credit if these games are shorter and it is bringing in a younger crowd? Like, I don't like the guy, and he's made some asshole decisions in the past, but like, he's been on a little bit of a heater now. If this picks up,
fire. He's on fire. What does Rob Manfred need to do for his legacy to be stamped good? He was a good commissioner, not like the best ever, none of that shit. But if baseball is fast and there's more stolen bases, and the offense is up.
Extra inning rule.
Extra inning is
There's
great and fast.
Not one rule he's added I hate.
It was just that if you take out the baseballs, like that whole drama of like the juice baseballs, like that. But then you got Bud Selig with the actual juice, so it's like everyone has blemishes.
The baseballs is a blemish, not because he juiced the balls. I say fucking juice them. It's fun. The blemish was this like back and forth.
Choosing.
Sometimes we use it, sometimes
or
we don't.
Only juiced it for the Yankee games.
Or during the postseason, they didn't them, and then all of a sudden,
that was scientifically proven, bro. If he just juiced the balls, that to me would have been a check in the good column. He just has. I mean, the Astros will forever be this black eye, but even that, I venture to guess, much like Goodell. This is talked about a lot more in football, where Goodell is like, why is he paid $44 million? Because he's the lightning rod. He just takes all of the shit. He just gets fucking loaded up every day. All the complaints go to him, and the owners are just like, you have to deal with that. That's your gig. If, the Astros thing was so bizarre because they were caught so red-handed, and fans were like, what the fuck? Here's the evidence. Go do it. But if like every other team and owners and managers and even players around the league were like, yo, commish, like we all do this. So like, if you really lower the hammer on him, like we're, maybe I'm just saying, maybe there was more of a domino effect that potentially could have occurred if Manfred did be like, you're fucking suspended for a season, because it kind of did it like, yeah, we complained about it for a little while. But the idea is kind of like gone now. You know what I mean? It's like we don't have a cheating. What would be worse for baseball is if we found out everybody was cheating. It was almost like, let's just take this hit. It happened. You can yell at me. And oh, by the way, we can steal bases again. And we can, we're playing ghost runners on second now and all this crazy shit. I wonder if in the long run, maybe it was better for baseball. But if you couple that with all the shit he's doing now, bro, I might have to. Do you know how many clown Manfred shirts we sold? Yeah. Oh my God, I sold like 10,000 of those things. I'm gonna have to first ever t-shirt retraction. Yeah. I'll have to put myself on a clown shirt.
It's also ultimately, I think, comes down to him putting in the robot umpires, because if that ends up being a disaster, then we're gonna be like, fuck this guy again. But like Selig took over. There was the lockout in '94, which ruined the game. Then he saved the game with steroids. And it's like, the longer you're the commissioner, as long as you don't completely fuck up, at the end of the day, it's like a GM who got fired and then all of his picks hit after the fact.
Yeah. If I'm Manfred,
right now, it's been good.
If I'm Manfred, I'm done. I'm not doing
quit while you're ahead.
I'm like, yo, I instituted like 5 new rules that all hit, and everyone's praising me. I'm Costanza. Good night. Thank you. I'm gone. Because if he does go, like, if you do put the umpires, the robots in, even if that goes well, there's a lot of people going to fucking hate that. I would just be like, I'm the people's champ. Yeah, there was that one-time scandal, but we just talk about, 2-hour baseball games now. That's what's up. That's going to change. And you know what he should do? The one last thing is almost like I don't think there's any anti-taunting rules as is. It's not like football, but encourage the kids to fucking bat flip and crotch chop. And if you get little kids into the game too, you'll be a baseball hero, which is a turnaround that we've like never seen before. That would be nuts.
If it's able to start competing with the NBA,
like how much Manfred's like Gary Bettman level hated as far as commissioners go. People fucking despise that guy.
Some people hate the pitch clock just because it's shorter games. I miss it. It's like, yeah, you need to watch guys for 30 minutes just like grab their dick and spit seeds. Like,
if you like old baseball games going like 4 or 5 hours, like remember Yankee Red Sox regular season games that would be like 4 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah,
remember the 12 hours in Wrigley last year?
God, you could play legit like 2.5 games at this rate now. It's crazy.
And they're also saying the people that are at the games don't notice it at all. It's just regular baseball. They're not paying attention to the clock. It just seems like it's just played at a better pace. That's it.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you can't, and I don't think anybody should have ever done this. So I almost like this being like unintended consequence. You ain't waiting online at Shake Shack for 2 innings anymore because now it's like 4 innings. Like now you're missing like half the game.
Now you get the concession people back in the stands slinging hot dogs. It'll
Yeah,
look like
those
old
guys are
baseball
probably
all over
cleaning
again.
up. Yeah.
Yep.
To me, I never even understood the people. It's like, I guess there was a time where Shake Shack was hot in the streets and there was really only limited locations. And it was like, if you're here, 2 birds, 1 stone, get yourself some Shake Shack. But if you're going to wait for like a few hours, just go to a Shake Shack. Why pay the money to go to a game you're not going to watch? And so if there's less people just waiting on lines and more fans of the game actually engaged in the game, I think that's a good thing as well. Now, I'll
See the
say
food tour that they're doing?
for an organization that does a all-you-can-drink beer outing, it's not the best of things, but, you know, I don't know if they changed the rules, but they definitely did change the rules probably. It used to be an hour before first pitch until 2 hours after first pitch or the alcohol cutoff. If it was just the 2 hours, you could drink all game long. But
Yeah.
but it's definitely going to be it's whichever comes first. So they'll still do the 7th inning cutoff. So the moral of the story is get your Barstool the ballpark tickets. Get there early for the 1 hour beforehand. That's when you can just rip through them, have a nice steady buzz, and then enjoy, you know, a few rounds during the game as opposed to like the usual like 10.
Listen, double fist. They're going to give you 2. Bring it over to where you're sitting. Get back online, and then you're set. That's this Saturday, 4:10 start against the Marlins. I already looked it up. The Citi Field replica that they're giving away is already listed on eBay for $120. So come and get the replica.
You're making a
and
profit.
Great.
You're making a $20 profit by selling your little collectible on eBay to Frank Fleming.
Also should be a good Senga day. So
yeah,
great.
Lining up nice.
That Ghost Fork. I know I'll be there. I think a few of the boys will be there as well. So it'll be a good turnout from the gang. Go to We Gotta Believe on Instagram or at Gotta Believe Pod. Or if you're watching on YouTube, we'll put the link below. Get your tickets. As you said, it's like $100. You get your ticket, drink free beer from 1 hour prior to first pitch to the alcohol cutoff. You also get a free meal, like a hot dog or hamburger type meal. It is the best deal in sports. I've been doing it now. This is, I think, my eighth season of doing it. And the prices have never really changed. They've always been in that like $90 to $110 range. And in this economy, to get all that, it's one of the best deals in all of sports. It's great when the Mets stink. It's fucking incredible when the Mets are awesome. So we'll see you guys on Saturday. And other than that, like, keep it moving, baby.
Everybody who's watching, if you want to call in tomorrow, I'm going to do a post-game Mets After Dark. Send out the link. You guys can call in. It's like a social media radio show. Come get your thoughts out, whatever. We'll chop it up on here and on Twitter Spaces. That's it.
Right. Otherwise, you got to believe.
Got to believe.